The Off-Road Zone is brought to you by CF Moto Canada. We're all in. Are you? Honda. Yamaha. Choco. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Off-Road Zone. This week, we're making a pit stop in the province of Quebec, in the Haute-Mauricie region in the town of Tuque. We're going for a full off-road zone experience this week, and we'll show you the very best that region has to offer. We'll start by experiencing powder shredding at its finest, then motorcycling off the beaten path, and we'll finish at last year's 12 hours of La Tuque Endurance race for ATVs and UTVs. The Lac-Édouard municipality is the third biggest in the Mauricie region, but is the least populated. Nevertheless, its 167 residents make it so the region is one of the most welcoming and dynamic. Located in the heart of the Laurentian Mountains, it's surrounded by more than 300 fish-filled lakes. Its forests are abundant with wildlife, such as moose, bears, partridge, hares, woodpeckers, and many more species. What makes it a unique destination is the warm welcome that its residents offer to all passers-by. This magnificent spot is the perfect place to start off a snowmobile trip. A lot of tourists call La Tuque home base for the multiple circuits that take them around the whole region. It's possible to start in La Tuque and go around and come back, or be just on your way to a whole other region, since the entire trail systems are linked. The La Tuque Tourism Office can certainly help you plan an itinerary according to your needs and which means of off-road transportation you use. While on our journey of discovery into the Lac-Édouard region, one of our riders decided to invite us to his home in order to have a taste for a Quebec delicacy called tourtière du lac Saint-Jean, which is basically a meat pie made with various available wild game meat. Tourtière has become the tradition and iconic dish of the region of Saguenay, Quebec since 1970, and it's undergone several metamorphoses according to the culinary history. If you plan on staying in Lac-Édouard for a few days, you can certainly stay at the historic Presbytère Bed and Breakfast. Housed in a 100-year-old house, people can't say enough about how quaint, quiet, and paradise-like this place is. If deep snow is more your thing, the La Tuque region can most definitely offer you a variety of options. The Barrage Gouin and Magnan Outfitters are two of the numerous places that can offer to guide you safely through deep powder for your total enjoyment. Coming up, we're mounting the bikes and heading into the wilderness. Stay tuned. Let's now join our group of off-road motorcyclists who are now getting ready to enter the trails. Dual-use motorcycles are the preferred motorcycles for this type of riding. Fully equipped and legal for street use, they are in their element when they meet dirt, mud, and rocky terrain. If you plan on coming to explore the wilderness on your bike, know that there's a federation that can help you answer any and all questions you might have and also help out with your travel plans. It's called la Fédération Québécoise du Moto Hors Route, or FQMHR. Their goal is to promote safe use of your off-road motorcycles while following security guidelines and showing respect to others who enjoy the wilderness. Another advantage of dual-use motorcycles is that when you're planning your itinerary, you can actually get to where you're going on your motorcycles as opposed to having to haul them on a trailer to a certain start-off point where the trails begin. This way, you can plan a nice route without having to ride on the same roads or trails twice. Although use of a local guide is highly recommended, you can also travel on your own using different mobile phone apps which will supply you with a whole network of trails maintained by the various federations. The FQMHR, of course, but also the FQCQ, or Fédération Québécoise des Clubs Quad, which manages the ATV trails. Some of the ATV trails are shared trails, which means that they are used by both motorcycles and snowmobiles. It's important to note that in order to ride our trails, a special pass is necessary. Information on how to get a pass is easily accessible on the internet. The money collected from the sales of these permits goes right back into the system by helping local clubs maintain the trails, offering security and direction signs throughout the thousands of kilometers of trails. It's important to ensure the well-being of this activity that we all love. Off-road motorcycling is a completely different experience than street riding. In the woods, you have to deal with rough terrain, and yes, sometimes it means you might have a fall. However, if you're wearing all the required security apparel and you follow the directives, chances are you won't get hurt and you'll exit the trails with only a bruised ego and amazing stories to tell. Ask any off-roader why they like to do what they do, and most of them, if not all of them, will tell you that to be able to access remote areas by using their vehicle of choice is one of the best things ever. Climb that unclimbable mountain, shred an unspoiled field of white snow, or in this case, take a swim in that out-of-reach lake. Our destination for the motorcycle part of this adventure was a quaint little spot called la Seigneurie du Triton. Surrounded by lush forests, a magnificent and impressive playground, the outfitter of la Seigneurie du Triton is a well-known vacation center sought out by outdoor enthusiasts. It's a perfect spot to either recharge your batteries in the calm of nature or to do your favorite activity. Many water sports and forest activities can be practiced here and can be enjoyed by the whole family. For adults who want to spend a little time alone to enjoy other activities, childcare services are available. A team of guides will entertain you and help you discover the treasures of the forest. Canoe rides and hiking will have you explore the territory and deepen your knowledge of the fauna and flora. Coming up, we're plunging headfirst into the adrenaline pool at the 12 Hours of La Tuque Endurance race. Stay tuned. Last but not least in our tour of the Mauricie region is certainly the 12 Hours of Endurance race that takes place every year in La Tuque, Quebec. The event that started off 16 years ago as a Quebec version of the 12 Hours of Pont de Vaux held in Europe has certainly come into its own and is now a world-renowned event with participants coming from all over the globe. The Off-Road Zone team has been covering the event since its very beginning, but our participation to the event took on a whole new meaning 4 years ago when our producer Ken McDonald was offered a spot to compete for the CF Moto Crew, which he accepted with excitement. It's not every day you get to be invited to a race in such a prestigious event known the world over. Everybody who's anybody in the world of ATV and UTV racing knows about the 12 Hours of La Tuque Endurance race. The team behind it now has become one of the world top authorities in managing such big events with a perfect safety record and a solid reputation for the accuracy of the race results. Since the event has been going on for so long, it's now become the yearly party where all the friends you've made over the years are meeting up again. You can certainly see this within the first few hours, where people start arriving and getting set up. Camaraderies grow, friendly rivalries arise, and all the competitors have fun doing what they do best. This year, 2 new categories have been added in order to give a chance to those who might not have the perfect racing machine or even a lot of experience to participate. There's a 4x4 category where anyone can basically register with their own machine, and also the vintage category where the owners with older machines can throw their hats into the ring. You can imagine just how fun that race can be. One of the first steps the competitors must face is the mechanical inspection. Rigid rules are in place in order to ensure driver and spectator safety, and also to keep the race fair for everyone within their category. Timing is key, and the results are compiled electronically through onboard data on every vehicle, which is incredibly accurate. To give some eye candy to the crowd, each team participating gets to take to the stage and show off their vehicles the night before the qualifications. There's also friendly tire changing competitions, which pits the racers against each other. Sometimes the people you expect would do well simply don't, and others come out of the woodwork and surprise you. Our producer Ken tries to push the envelope during the qualifications and ends up breaking a differential on his machine. It's all part of the game, so the night before the race will be spent doing mechanical work rather than partying, or at least the partying won't last as late. Well, perhaps, maybe. For everyone attending, the 12 hours of endurance race in Tuque is like a huge festival. There's something for everyone, adults and children alike. Motocross racers, endurocross racers, trial competitors, and even kids can get in on the action with the Junior Red Rider Squad by Honda. When nighttime comes, there are parties with performances by musical guests. Basically, the fun never stops. One of the most amazing things to see is the start of the ATV race that is done Le Mans style, which means that the drivers are standing on the other side of the track from their vehicles, so when the flag drops, they need to run to their ATV, plug their safety kill switch, start the engine, and then they're off. Makes for an eye-catching start of the race. This year, the extreme heat is an ongoing factor that plays against every team. Engines are running at high temperatures, and if you combine this with the extreme dust in the air, you can bet the difficulty level is high. Broken differential, heavy heat, and dust. Awesome competition coming from all the teams. In spite of all these difficulties, our producer took in third place on the podium and was very proud of it. There'll always be next year, and watch out, Arctic Cat, we're coming after you. Coming up, we're rebuilding the transmission on our CF Moto build. Stay tuned. Today we're going to remove the entire original clutch system. If you remember, last time we changed the bearing in the casing, and now we're going to reinstall everything with the new CVTech transmission adapter. In order to get this done, we need to make some room to be able to look into the suspension and take out the muffler's steel sheet. Now we've got enough space to work. Everything looks great, so it should go well. Our producer Ken has learned to be as resourceful as possible throughout his life. But when he really doesn't know how to do something, he found out quickly that it's much better to ask for help from someone qualified. Which is what he's done here, and he'll be listening to Gaetan's great advice. When you're talking about installing important parts that require a lot of precision, you've got to have the exact torque. And you know how things are getting real when you need to get out the big boy tools. So 51 pounds of torque is the magic number here. This time, we won't follow the famous trick that consists of stopping a quarter turn before it breaks and stick to the right number, shall we? The most stressful part at this point of the project is that if for some reason we make a mistake, it'll take 3 or 4 hours of work just to get back to the point where we are now. So it's pretty important to focus. Changing a belt isn't too complicated at home or even out on the trail. But as wise people would say, might as well replace it with a new one while we're at it. On top of that, we'll keep the old one as a spare just in case. Since we didn't have a new belt, we took advantage of working directly at the CF Moto facility, and we went directly to the parts department to get what we needed. Once everything is in place, the only thing that remains to do is making sure all the parts are clean. Once all the parts of the clutch are put into place, all that's left is to put the cover back on. Check back with us next week as we take a huge step. We're ready to leave the garage and say goodbye to Gaetan. We'll move from the CF Moto shop to Ken's own personal garage. We hope this visit of the Haute-Mauricie region of Quebec in its various seasons and on various vehicles have given you a good taste of all the fun that can be had out in the wilderness. I'm Marc Gauguin. We hope you'll join us next week for another adventure in the off-road zone. The Off-Road Zone was brought to you by CF Moto Canada. We're all in. Are you? Honda. Yamaha. Chaco.